Is the audio right? No. I want to speak about Emily in Paris. I'm not a reviewer of movies. I'm not an expert, but no, I know one thing or two about languages. I'm speaking English right now. I speak Italian. I speak Greek, not so well, but I speak, and I'm learning Russian. I spoke other languages. Among those languages, French. I understand French. I don't speak it well because if you don't practice a language on a daily basis, you lose the hang of it. But having said that, I lived in France a long time ago, 1992, for 9 months. Okay, I was very fluent because I spent at least 2 years studying in Italian and absorbing the language in Italian. So when I was there, I became more and more fluent, and I used and I'll tell you what, if you know one thing or two about languages, about Europe, about how interaction between speakers of different language actually work, that series doesn't make any sense. It's really idiotic. You can see it like a soap, watch it like a soap opera, and don't ask yourself anything. If you watch dubbed in Italian, there's no problem, but you lose a lot. But you go to France. She goes to France. The first thing you would do is being able to get understood when it comes to basic things as fast as possible. Quick and dirty. A quick and dirty job. And you can tell that French, after maybe Italian and Spanish, is one of the easiest language for English speakers. It's an Indo-European language. Work order and the way people think is very similar. It's not like Chinese, Arabic, or Turkish. Half of the words are familiar. Yes, the pronunciation is quite tricky, the spelling is tricky, but she attends, you see, even if you speak language well, you can have moment of because I speak other languages. I was learning Russian, and my mind говорит is with T, but there is a E inside. She follows a course, and the way they teach is the way American think languages are taught. New approaches, and speaking for at least 30 or 40 years, are not like je vais, tu vas, il va. No, it doesn't work like this. It doesn't work like this. They speak the target language the whole time. French is one of, after English, most common languages. So it's not they are learning a very tricky, rare language. Many people have a basic knowledge of French. That was a beginner's course. But teachers, new teachers, unless you are 80 years old, tend to speak the language they teach, even for simple things, even outside the course. She wants to speak to her outside, but she lives in France. When you live in a place and your language is not so far removed from the language you're learning, okay? Let's say English is a Germanic language, doesn't belong to Romance languages, but is strongly influenced in the vocabulary by French. She keeps speaking English. Even after in the third, I don't know if she said the actor is like this or was written like this, but bonjour, really? Are you for real? Bonjour, bonjour, bonjour becomes bonjour. The other one, the boss who pretended to speak French, her French sucks. They have a thick American accent. Thick. Then there are scenes, and I kid you not, when they speak among them, French people, and she was not even there, English. I speak English, as you can hear. I know Italian and speak English. I would never speak English because I deem to be also a native speaker of Italian with a native speaker of Italian, unless I'm teaching English. And they have, what do you say, meetings about this luxury. They do advertising for luxury brands also via social media. And after months she's been living there, the only thing they throw casually, bonjour, ça va, and they speak English. There are not many scenes where they really speak French. They speak French because those actors who pretend to be French are French, so they don't pretend to be French. I tell you, their usage of vocabulary is very high level English. Most of French don't have a high level of English. Oh, but this is a brand. They don't have it. Okay? And the usage of words, I can tell it was written by native American English speakers who write text for people who are French and supposedly speak English as a second language. They are too fluent. They use idioms. They use high-level words, strange words. They always use. It doesn't sound like second language speakers, like they speak English as a second language. For example, I used to speak English as a first language. Now I live in Italy, and that is the way. I think I'm much too fluent for. Okay, but this should speak at least as bad as I speak it now. I don't have a French accent, neither a thick Italian accent, but when you're not a native speaker, I know sometimes you make a pause, you think, you say something, you correct yourself, you say things in a way that people understand, but a native speaker would have preferably use another turn of phrase, other words more appropriate, more felicitous words, the right word, the right moment, the right idiom. No, they speak exactly, almost exactly like a native speaker. I never, in the whole series, I never seen those French people who speak English as a second language correct themselves. Sure, the accent is what it is. They can write text for them, but the accent, you can tell, is not perfect. But you cannot speak perfect English like this and not to have a much higher level of accent. I mean, their phonetics should match their vocabulary and their grammar, and they'll match. I'm used to it, however much they speak much better than the average French speaker. Uh, French speakers speak a very, not as in the past, but very important language in the world. Usually people who speak those languages tend not to devote, put into learning a foreign language so much time, and they come from very high culture, they think they are, and they don't need to they don't have this feeling that they have to pander to the, English speaking word. And moreover, you see the beginning of the series, though, they're snotty and they give her the cold shoulder, but they always speak English because the series is in English. So they have completely disregarded the reality, because if they had done a series that linguistically makes sense, in the second season you would hear 90% of the time French. Since American people are so spoiled, they would never see Emily in Paris where they actually speak French. So I would say Emily in an imaginary Paris. Disregarding this La La Land, what is French? You see, I went. I've been there 2 or 3 times. It's not like this. It's not like this. That's a fairy tale image of Paris. They took stereotypes. They take stereotypes that basically all stereotypes have are based on something that actually is real, and they overuse it. But okay, French people, their job laws are very strict. They used to be. I don't know now. They start work later. They're more okay. French people are actually a mix of Germanic and Latin cultures. But really gives an image of France. Actually, I think like New York is really different from the rest of America. Paris is different from the rest of France. They have something in common, their attitude, stuff like that. I used to live in Angers, which is completely different. But a person who has a mind cannot watch this and forget it's completely fake. Completely fake. That means that, you know, if it was Emily in Puerto Rico, okay, they speak the language of the winner, of the conqueror, of the big boss, United States. They belong to the United States. It would make sense. Officially languages, or even maybe if Emily was, she was Russian, Emily in Baku, Emily in I don't know, whatever former Soviet Union states where they still speak Russian, it would make sense. Not in France. In France it doesn't make any sense. People speak French everywhere. If you're a foreigner, you adapt to the language. I've been in situations where even if I speak fluent, I speak, but there was an English speaker. More or less all Italians know something of English, some English, but the language of the place takes over, and we even speak English speakers in a situation where most of them are Italians, two English speakers, they speak Italian, and even among them they speak Italian because they're in a situation when we speak among us, okay? If they are alone, obviously they speak English, but since the language is Italian, they always speak Italian, because if they say something and other people need to understand, they say that in Italian. And they have obviously they have a thick accent. Most of English speakers have a thick accent when they speak foreign languages, for some reasons, and I don't want to get into this now. So actually, she says two words in French. Oh, you speak French, for Christ's sake. That's typically American. They also, oh, you speak Italian. Some actors who know some Italian, for different reasons, they're so appalled. Oh, amazed. Darino, you speak Italian. He speaks Italian, whatever. I hate that. So basically, people who wrote the script for that, they should have somebody. I don't know anything about interaction, about speakers of different languages. I don't know how it works when you go to a foreign country, how you absorb the language. I kid you not. She, for somebody who knows reality, okay, does she have some mental problems? Some mental disability? No. Okay. So it doesn't make any sense. If you, that could happen if she lived in a NATO base where all soldiers speak American and you get out now and then to buy food in a local store in Italy, but you live in a base where everybody's American. Okay. Her workplace is French speaking. I repeat myself, it doesn't make any sense. It's completely idiotic. Whatever the story, that basically it becomes a soap opera, disregarding the way she's dressed. This is, we say, like a punch in your eyes, because it's okay. Well, I'm not an expert, but that in real life you don't go to work every day dressed like this. On the streets you are stick out like a sore thumb. It's completely, but okay, I don't know, but So you have a word where French basically have a high level of English everywhere. They are well ready to speak English just because one person who has been living there months doesn't know shit about French after months, and after months she always says bonjour, 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 bonjour. What the fuck is that? And really, really make Emily in Puerto Rico. It would be perfect. Or English is also used, is still United States, even if not a state. Official language is English, they speak Spanish, but everybody knows English. Okay, it would make, maybe not so much, but it would make more sense. But not in Paris. Not in Paris. Everything is in bloody French. If you're a foreigner, you have to learn French. I don't care. They don't care if you speak English. And those, it's not a language school. They're not French who teach English to other French people. Those people who do go about their business, they know perfect English. Believe me, I speak English. I live in Italy. The whole time. I don't speak perfect English. Like the English would. I sometimes use a sentence. A native speaker would have used something else. And if you speak for another language on a daily basis, even English is your native language, even if English is your native language, it was for me. After decades living in another place, there's influence. It's not the languages are staunchly divided. Like there's a watertight separation between one language and one. You get confused. They always use English, like English is their native. The only thing, because they are actually French, you can tell they don't have an American or a British accent. But the world doesn't work like this. Learning a language and being fluent like they do, it's not easy. But it is easy for an English speaker in a situation where you're completely, where around you people speak French the whole time, you get up to speed and you start speaking French with mistakes. But then the series would be a little bit annoying, because in this situation I noticed this many times. In situation like this, the linguistic aspect is completely out of phase with reality. Completely. People who write these things don't know shit about how linguistic reality works. They should have somebody, an expert, that gives even a veneer of a reality. It's not like this, but you know, those French people make the mistakes that French people make. They have a thicker accent. She starts speaking English. French make mistakes, and you see, as long as the series goes on, she speaks better French. English is faded out, and it would be a series that, at the end, a French series. No, I've seen series where really, not only Americans, and a Greek series where she lives in Australia and everybody in Australia used to speak Greek. in the series speaks Greek. Everybody speaks Greek. And no, Italians go to America and they always bump into Americans who speak Italian because they don't give a shit about languages. If they did that like for clothes, you never seen a series that happens in the 70s, then they have clothes of the 80s, or cars of the 90s, or a series that takes place in 19th century. In the 19th century, people use the phone. Come on! Even when there are mafia series, people who pretend to speak Italian very badly. No, and it can be done right, because there are series where there are American actors who pretend to be British, and it's believable. Let's say Doctor House. No, but when it comes to Emily in Paris, you know, French people should make a series called Emily in New York. Ooh, and everybody in the office in New York speaks French on a native speaker level. That makes a lot of sense. Goodbye.